When Benny wanted to open a beach bar, he had plenty to consider. First, should he open a business on his own? Perhaps including his friend Salty would be a better idea. Maybe Benny and Salty should take on several investors and open a beach resort. There are four main ways to structure a business: sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability corporation, or corporation. Before Benny can make decisions about the menu or drinks for his business, he needs to take a good look at what he wants out of it. With each form of ownership, there are benefits and disadvantages. If Benny starts the beach bar on his own, he would be a sole proprietor. This way, Benny keeps all the profits, calls all the shots, and manages everything his way. There would be no boss breathing down Benny's neck, just Benny and his staff mixing up frozen daiquiris and serving up tasty beach burgers. With sole proprietorship, the owner has complete control over all decisions. Additionally, business taxes are part of the owner's individual tax liability, so there's no special preparation needed. For a small beach bar, this might make sense. However, the risks are still pretty high. As a sole proprietor, Benny would have unlimited liability, meaning he would be responsible for all debt and liabilities, including anything that employees might do. For example, if one of Benny's bartenders neglected to remove some orange seeds and a guest choked on them, Benny would be personally liable for any issues arising from the situation. He could lose his business and even his personal property like his home, car, and financial assets. There is also the issue of raising enough capital to start the company. A beach bar might sound like a simple operation, but being on the beach comes at a cost. Benny would have to raise the money to buy or rent a building, as well as secure any needed licenses and permits without the help of partners or investors. He could take out loans or borrow from friends and family, but ultimately, he alone would have to repay the debt. Though rewarding, this type of business can be overwhelming. Benny decides to invite Salty to join him in the beach bar venture. Let's consider how having a partner changes things. If Benny and Salty go into business together, they will form a partnership, which is simply a business that has two or more owners. When entering a partnership, partners should note that they will share in the debts, liabilities, and risks. Also, their taxes will be filed individually, like a sole proprietorship, with the business passing profits and losses to the owners, who will claim the profits and losses on their personal tax returns. As partners, Benny and Salty will have to work on a partnership agreement. There are numerous ways to create this type of contract, but it should contain clauses for each partner's percentage of ownership, the allocation of profits and losses, decision-making authority, and dispute resolution plans. They also need to have a plan for the possible death of a partner. Benny and Salty decide that they have loftier plans, so they begin to consider a corporation. Unlike a sole proprietorship or partnership, a corporation is an entity that's owned by shareholders. Shareholders own at least one share in the company. In return for buying stock shares, they receive dividends or a piece of the profits based on their contribution. In simple terms, it's like having many partners who have no legal obligation to the business and don't share any liability. Their contribution is money that helps maintain the corporation. Starting a corporation is a bit more complicated than a sole proprietorship or partnership. It begins with registering a legal business name and registering as a corporation. The owners must also apply for and obtain licenses and business permits. There are some significant differences between a corporation and other business structures. First, the corporation itself pays taxes on its profits, not the individual owners or partners. Also, corporations are taxed twice, once when they earn profits and again when they pay dividends to shareholders. And even though shareholders chip in for a piece of the company, they are immune to any liability for debt or employee actions. Benny and Salty decide they aren't ready for a corporation, but they want the benefits of one. They can achieve this by creating a limited liability corporation, or LLC for short. This type of business has all the benefits of a sole proprietorship or partnership without the liability. An LLC passes debt and risk to the corporation rather than the individual owner or partners, but maintains the flexibility of a partnership or sole proprietorship. Creditors cannot access personal assets, and the individual owner or partners cannot be sued personally. Benny has a lot of thinking to do. Opening a beach bar sounded like fun at first. Now that he knows about various business structures, it seems a bit more complicated. There are 4 ways to structure a business: A sole proprietorship, owned by one person carrying unlimited liability and tax burden, but fairly easy to start and allowing control over business operations. A partnership, owned by two or more people carrying unlimited liability and splitting individual tax burden, but also relatively easy to start and allowing control over business operations. A corporation, owned by shareholders but carrying its own tax burden and liability with little risk to owners, but more involved to start. Or a limited liability corporation, offering the benefits of a sole proprietorship or partnership without the liability implied by corporation. The best business form is the one that works for the specific business. It's always best to speak to an expert before starting a business.